Hello and welcome. My name is Richard Cabana. I'm a senior systems engineer with CyberRes in the CIAM space, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of advanced authentication. Advanced authentication is an adaptive authentication framework built on open standards. We support plenty of different methods, including smartphone, Bluetooth, soft and hard tokens, and of course, Windows Hello. We give you the ability to do something called geofencing, which means that you can select a method such as a smartphone and ensure that people can authenticate with this only if they're within the perimeter of the defined Google Map zone that you set up. We can also provide you with the ability to do a linking of chains, so you can have a multi-factor step-up authentication when security needs to be increased. Or you can do things such as linking a Bluetooth method with a smartphone method and provide somebody the ability to authenticate once with their smartphone and an LDAP password, for instance, at the beginning of their workday, and then use Bluetooth for proximity authentication as they go forward. We support Docker and Kubernetes as some of the features for deployment. It's available on-premise or as a software as a service. And we also support things such as air-gap updates. It's fully localized, which for customers such as Vodacom, which have over 100 million different clients of their own using this, is an extremely important feature. And on the client side, we support Windows, Linux, and Macintosh. In the purple over here, we also support something called risk services. And with risk services, you can provide the ability to have additional security parameters required if for some reason somebody is logging in out of their usual time, if the historical pattern of the use is different, or if, for instance, an IP address is different than what's expected. Now let's leave the slides aside and take a look at the product. The first login experience will be as Andrew Aston, who's a local user sitting in his office. Because he was inside his office, the only thing that was required was his LDAP password credentials. We will now sign Andrew Aston out and sign in as Richard Cabana, who is a remote user. You'll notice that he has been requested to open up his NetIQ Authenticator app, which he needs to use the thumbprint to open, and he has to accept the smartphone TOTP, and at that point he is also logged on. The difference is, for the remote user, we want to have two-factor authentication to make it more secure for somebody who's not within the office area itself. Taking a quick walkthrough on the administration side, first on the right, we see that I've got Active Directory and computers open, and I've got a remote workers group, which if I open up, you can see I've got currently just one member, Richard Cabana. And if I close that up and take a look at my Advanced Authentication Administration, first thing we'll do is take a look at the events. And I've got a Windows logon event, which if I open this, has two different authentication processes, one for remote workers and one for workers who are in the office. So let's take a look at this remote Windows workstation chain. And looking at it, I'm forcing users who are outside of the office to use both an LDAP password and a smartphone to authenticate, otherwise they don't get in. If you take note of this Risk Settings tab underneath the chains, this allows me to go in and either ignore a risk setting or choose between low, medium, or high as the type of risk associated with an event that I may want to apply. If I go into my risk settings here, I've got a risk policy that I've defined for human resources, And in here, it's got two rules that are linked together, one of them being the IP address rule and the other one being user time of login. These two risk settings are evaluated to determine whether or not I need to provide another step-up method of authentication tied in with those chains to again increase the ability to protect that resource. This concludes the brief overview of advanced authentication. I just wanted to mention that for the very last part of the demonstration, from the point we started looking at risk services, I switched us over from using the on-premise version of advanced authentication to where we are now using software as a service, and I'm running this last component on a tenant, just so you can see that whether you're on-premise or you're using software as a service, you have the same use and experience for both products. Thank you very much.